those constitutionalists over there? That's what they call me. I said, why do you call me a constitutionalist with a degrading tone of voice? Didn't you also uphold an oath of allegiance to the Constitution? Do you have a different Constitution than I do? If so, I'd like to see it. There's only one Constitution, so how is it that a constitutionalist is a degrading, insulting term? How come Janet Reno gets on TV and says, them constitutionalists, those sovereign citizens, those state citizens, those militia people are all domestic terrorists, and they're all white supremacists, and they're all racists, da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to be all thrown in that big pot, you see. Not that it's not good company. It's just that I think we need to make some clear distinctions here. That, yeah, this isn't, you know, a recruiting group for the militia. This is a forum where people can freely express what's on their minds. I mean, after all, freedom of speech and all that. And regardless of whatever your point of view might be, or regardless of what your politics may be, whether it's left or right, I happen to presently believe that left or right is irrelevant. It makes no difference. And we've got to stop pointing fingers at liberals or conservatives or Republicans or Democrats, and all that is a distraction that keeps the American people divided from the real issues and the real ones who are trying to take over here. And I find that to be a healthy sign that in the lectures and in the workshops that I do, that it is not a homogeneous group, that there are all kinds of Americans coming to these groups, and people who genuinely disagree with each other. And that's fine. How else are you going to learn anything unless you dialogue with somebody who you don't agree with? But you can have a healthy communications if you have a healthy listening and the ability to listen to someone else. You might really learn something. That everybody has a piece of the truth. Everybody knows a little bit of it. And our job is to put it all together so we can make sense of it and that we can go forward. So that's about all I need to say about the economic system. We've looked at the political system. We know that it's linked into the bankruptcy. We know the foreign powers are directing it, and the creditors of the federal United States. The economic system is a debt-oriented system. It is bankrupt financially, morally, and politically. We need to reinvent another economic system, and you can do that. We've done that up in the Northwest and a number of other places. There's a little book back there called the Cascadia Hour. We actually created our own money system, you see. We figured, well, if these are short and everybody's kind of clawing around trying to get enough of them, we'd create our own money system, which is what we did. We created what we call the Cascadia Hour. We just painted some paper up just like the Federal Reserve did. Only this time we called it a Cascadia Hour, which has a $10 equivalency, and we can use this within our community to buy goods and services as supplemental to this. It doesn't completely replace this, because yeah, some things, you know, I can't go to the gas station and take those right now, but there's other things in the community that people do take. And all we had to do is print some currency. We granted it into circulation 5 hours per person, and they paid like $5 or $10 into this little fund. Then we printed up a directory of all the people that were willing to accept and spend it. And then you could go shopping in the directory and use this instead of this. And you got an economy going. People didn't realize... Thank you. People forgot, unless there's some of us who are old enough to remember the Great Depression. I don't know. Is there anybody here old enough to remember? Okay. Do you remember local scripts? Do you remember that there was, in this country, over 1,000 local scripts created during the Great Depression? Communities got together and created some kind of money system because there was no more of these. Does anybody remember? And some of them were backed by sheepskin, some were backed by wheat, some were backed by nothing at all except each other. And that's what kept the infrastructure together while the rest of the system was busy off there trying to figure out how they were going to take our property and bankrupt us all. But the people are very adaptive, and I think we'll be adaptive again. I think we're going to find the time is coming when these are going to continually shrink if not disappear altogether into either some credit, debit, computer type system, or simply just be devalued to the point where the buying power is so little that you can't get what you need with them, that they'll follow the pace of the peso, the root of the peso. And I believe this will happen in short time, that the dollar is going to free fall. Remember, the central banks aren't going to float the value of the currency anymore. They already decided they will not buy Treasury securities anymore. It means that the US dollar has to compete on the international currency market with all the other currencies out there. And the true value of a currency is related to the true productivity of the nation. So if we're all busy at war here and all fighting each other and we're all sitting at our desk pushing paper around and we're not really producing anything, the value of this is going to go down to its true market value, which could be 10 cents on the dollar. And it could just go down to just, you've heard the old story, you have to get a whole bushel basket full of $20 bills to buy a loaf of bread. I mean, that isn't unusual. The average life of a currency on the planet is 7 years of a paper inflatable currency. We've had an exceptionally strong currency for a long time, but that's because of the nature of our country and the